Please welcome Toastmaster Carl Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Once upon a time, long, long ago, when South County Toastmasters was just an infant, there was an enchanted evening. Now, this is not a fairy tale. Being a politician, my fairy tales begin with when I am elected. But that evening, South County Toastmasters had not one, but two icebreakers. Jane's icebreaker was average, mediocre, what you would expect from a new Toastmaster giving the first speech before a group like the Toastmaster Club. But Fred, and I must tell you these names are fictitious, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but Fred's, I believe, still has the award for being the worst icebreaker in the club. He stood up here and read, well, that's not quite true. He mumbled from his notes. There were no gestures, no eye contact, and the members that he didn't befuddle, he put to sleep. But when it came time for a second speech, Jane was there, and of course, she once again outperformed Fred. Now, some of you may say, well, this is the natural superiority of the female over the male. Well, when it came time for speech number 3, Fred was there, but Jane was not. She never came back to South County Toastmasters. What is the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between Fred's experience and Jane's experience? Well, Fred had an outstanding coach that was willing to help Fred make it through the Toastmaster program. And Fred did. He went on to compete at the club level and the advanced level in numerous contests, which he had won. He became a club officer and served as president of our club. He served as an officer of the district, and he earned Toastmasters' highest award, the Distinguished Toastmaster. I've been asked by our CEO of the club to do a sales talk to all of you because we do an excellent job of attaining members, but we fall down when it comes down to retaining members. And each of us who are asked to serve as a coach, to serve as a mentor, have to do a good sales job to make sure that that person learns and grows and stays with the club. Otherwise, we may have another Jane instead of a Fred. And this story that I've told is historic. It's in the Toastmaster magazine, the June 2000 issue. A Toastmaster's best friend. Now, I realize not everyone can be a mentor or a coach. Some just do not have the time. They're busy with their job. They may be busy with their family. And there are some that just have no interest in mentoring another one. So we don't want those people to be coaches. They're not going to help the person that they are mentoring. There are certain qualities that we should be looking for when we're mentoring somebody. We want an individual that has a positive attitude about Toastmasters. How can you sell Toastmasters to a new member and help that new member grow and grow and grow if you don't feel committed to the Toastmaster program? And they have to be committed to doing the work, to making the sacrifice. And there is a commitment of time to be a coach. to be a mentor to somebody else, they have to have a commitment to excellence. They have to be someone that wants to achieve the best for themselves. If they're not willing to do that, how can they ever instruct another one how to become a better Toastmaster? They have to have an understanding of what mentoring is. I call it a Toastmaster's best friend, but a mentor is not a friend to a Toastmaster. We all have friends, and we know when we ask for feedback from our friends, they all tell us how wonderful we are. That's why I married my best friend. She has never said anything negative about me. They have to have a vision for that new Toastmaster. How is that new Toastmaster going to grow? What steps have to be taken? That mentor must have that vision and must be able to communicate it. And finally, that mentor must have patience, because it does take a lot of patience when you're working with a new individual, with a new Toastmaster. Now, we have put out to our Toastmasters who are new to the club a booklet. And in the booklet on the first page, it talks about some of the things that the mentor should do. But there's much more that the mentor has to do. And it's important that the mentor do this if the mentee is going to stay with the club. First of all, you have to explain what Toastmasters is about. Everybody receives in the mail 2 booklets when they're new. There's a competent communicator booklet and a competent leadership booklet. It's up to you as a coach, it's up to you to sell these people on working through both manuals, both the competent communicator manual and the competent leadership manual. There are a grid sheet for the competent leadership manual, and it tells you what chores have to be done, what tasks. And we do have somebody who is supposed to be the evaluator for the people who are working in the competent leadership manual. And it's up to you. If you're going to sell that person on staying in the club, and that's what we want to do. We want to retain these people. We don't want the Janes, we want the Freds. You have to explain to them what the grid sheet means and insist that they bring their competent leadership manual every week so that they can be graded on that whenever they have something to perform. Not only that, as you know from the competent leadership grid sheet, some of the tasks are required to do all of them in the particular section. Others just require 3 of 4, 2 of 3. So you want to make sure when you're helping the person that if something is required of them that requires them to do all 3 of a certain task, that you want them to do that task and get it in the grid sheet, because they may not have an opportunity to do that task for some period of time. So if it's a task such as Toastmasters and they have to do that, and that's required in one of the projects to do all 3 of that, one of being Toastmasters, be sure that they're graded in that. We also have what we call the Full Circle Award, and that's to make sure that every new member, every one of our members have an opportunity to perform every role that we have. And we have numerous roles in Toastmasters. What I have put together for the people that I have coached is a sheet called the Toastmasters Full Circle Award. And on that, I list all the particular tasks that have to be completed. I suggest that when that task is completed by the person I'm mentoring, that it's dated, and then, although not required, I do suggest you get the educational VP's initials on it, the same way you do when you complete a speech in the manual. That way there is a record of what task you performed, when you performed it, and it's already been identified by the educational vice president. It's the responsibility of the person who's serving as mentor to be with the person they're mentoring for weeks, perhaps even months. You're going to help them with every task that they perform for 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months, depending on how much help that the mentee needs. I suggest sitting with that person whenever they are at a club meeting, introduce them to the club officers, explain to them what the role of each club officer is, introduce them to the new members. They come in here, they become a new member of our club, and all they see is a bunch of strange faces. Well, turn these strange faces into happy, friendly people like we are. Introduce them to the people. Whenever your mentee has a role, it's your job, if you're going to sell that person on staying in the club, you have to explain what that role is. Not too long ago, there was an email from one of the new members asking what is the role of the invocator. Well, that person's coach should have been explaining to that individual what an invocator does, give them some suggestions of what a task of an invocator is, even ideas of invocations that could be used. And all of your tasks are listed in your books. In the back of the book, they explain what the various tasks is and what you're supposed to do. And it's up to you, if you're going to be a tremendous salesperson as a mentor, just talk to your particular person that you're coaching and explain to him or her just what that task is and what is expected of you. And sit with them, help them through it. And when they give their icebreaker speech, work with them on that speech. Help them develop a speech. It's going to be their speech, but you can look over it. You can help edit that speech, give them some suggestions. Maybe tell them they should throw in a little humor in the speech. Maybe tell them they should pause every now and then or drop their voice. But help them with their speeches. The icebreaker, particularly. Most people, when they come to the club, have never given a speech before, and they have no idea what's expected of them. And it's your role, if you're going to be a great salesperson, a great coach, to explain to them what that role is and how the speech should be given. And help them with other speeches. And you don't have to do everything. We all have various strengths. Now, there's a few in the club that are well-rounded and they're good at every task, whether it's evaluating, speaking, responding to table topics. But there are others that maybe are strong in one area or another. There's nothing wrong as a coach to suggest to your mentee to go talk to somebody who may be strong in one area that you're not strong in and get help and assistance from that individual. Show that person where they can get the snacks, where the restrooms are. Especially if you get older people like me in here, you want to know where the restrooms are. Let them know what's important, the task that has to be done. Stay with them, talk to them constantly, and if that person misses a meeting, find out why they missed the meeting. Perhaps there's an illness and you want to convey your condolences to them. Or if they feel awkward about a task, maybe you can help them with that task. You're the one. If you're going to be a good salesperson and are going to keep that person engaged in Toastmasters, you have to constantly be in touch with them. The first thing you should do when you become a coach is to exchange email and telephone numbers so you know how to contact each other. And you should be in contact. And you, as a new member, should expect this from your coach. Your coach should be there for you. And if he or she isn't, be sure to let one of the club officers know, because we want to have a strong mentoring program. We can do it if we all work together, if we continually take on the role of a coach and know what's important. But if we don't, if we just volunteer and never show up to help that person, never sit with that person, never expect that person to fulfill his or her duties, never explain duties to them, then we're going to have somebody who's lost, like we lost Jane so many years. Hopefully, each and every one of you have been sold on the idea that when you're asked to be a coach, you're going to be an outstanding coach, so that someday you'll coach a Fred that's going to go on to earn the DTM, be an outstanding speaker, a winner of contests, and somebody that we can look forward to. Mr. Toastmaster.